Cornbread Chili Casserole. Look at that. That's a mouthful fit for a king. Look how moist and tender that cornbread is. Join me in the next episode of the Jamaica Kitchen and find out how I made this. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me again today at the Jamaica Kitchen. My name is Drew, and I know it's been quite a while since I've done a video, almost a month, maybe a little longer. Busy with the holiday seasons. But anyway, today we're going to do a quick, easy winter meal. This is super easy. This is great if you're busy. It can be prepared partly during the day before you go to work, or the night before, and finished off when you come home in the evening. It's really easy to do. Everything's in the can, pre-made, pre-mixed. You just got to do some adjustments to it to make it your own. So today we're going to make cornbread casserole, and it's a cornbread chili casserole. We're going to add 3 cans of chili with some tomatoes, onions, mix it all together, cook it down on the stove for a few minutes, and then we're going to throw it in the oven with the cornbread topping. This is so easy. It's an amazing way to feed your family very quickly and quite inexpensively too. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, for ingredients today, we have 3 cans of chili. Any brand will do. This is what was on sale at the time. This is 2 cans of no beans, and then 1 can of chili with beans. And in this particular one, I like to use less beans because the texture between the beans and the cornbread can be a little overbearing, so a little less beans is always good for this particular one. And we use a can of diced tomatoes. As you know, canned chili can be quite salty, and the tomatoes can help with that. And then also we're going to add 1 very large onion, and this one was huge, and it's just diced. I like to leave it nice and chunky. And it's about 5 or 6 large cloves of garlic. And then here we have a couple of bags of pre-made cornbread mix. Any brand will do, whichever one you prefer. I do usually add an extra egg or so, or a bit more oil in mine, so it's a little moist, less dry and cakey. But it depends on your brand and how it usually comes out for you. Alright, so let's get started. So as you can see, it's just a few ingredients, not too many. We're going to go ahead and put these in the pan and start sweating them down. Just putting them both in real quick, not going to do it too much. And then we're going to go ahead and add the other ingredients, and they can cook for about 10-15 minutes. I like to do this. I like to cook it the evening before, put it in my pan, cover the pan, put it in the fridge, or you can do it in the morning as you're making breakfast for the kids. It's only 1 pan, so it's not that difficult to do. And then when you come home in the evening, you take the plate out the fridge, you mix your cornbread, pour it on top, bam, straight in the oven. Really quick. So let's get started with our onions. So we're going to go ahead and sweat these down for a few minutes. Onions and garlic are all in the pan. And this recipe I actually read off the back of a container. I'm not sure what it was. It could have been cornbread container, or maybe a chili container, quite a few decades ago. It's been quite a while. And I've been cooking it ever since, and everybody seems to really enjoy it. It's so simple, so easy, so quick, and inexpensive. Alright, so in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 375, and then we're going to start adding our cans of chili to this pot. I'll go ahead and start adding my chili to this. And you can use any brand you want. As I said before, I like the texture with just only a few beans in there. And you can change the flavor of the chili by adding more spices. I usually am watering it down a little by adding the tomatoes, and then that allows some of the onion and garlic flavors to come through as well. On occasion I add some Scotch bonnet, depends how hot I want it. Sometimes I chop up habaneros and put it in there at the last minute so they're still a little crunchy and they don't really cook all the way out. I like doing that too. Depends on how you want it. But this chili can easily be adjusted, and as you can see, we're making our own adjustments by adding the tomato and whatnot. Good stir. See how chunky those onions sustain. Just gives it a nice texture. It's not all about beans, and it's not all about ground meat. Oops. And we're going to go ahead and add our canned tomatoes or tomatoes. Oops. And give another stir. As I said, sometimes I've prepared this in the morning while I'm making breakfast and put it in the pan. And then I've prepared it also the night before while cooking dinner and then put it in the pan. It's so easy. Alright. Now you could add some black pepper to this. Whatever other seasonings, depending on the flavor of the canned products you've used. Depends on what you might want to add for yourself and how you would like it to taste. So I went ahead and I added some black pepper and some seasoning, Italian seasoning to this. Doesn't need any salt. It just helps to increase the flavor, make the flavors a little bit more complex. It is canned chili, so you get what you expect, right? And you can adjust it any which way you like. But you see how thick that is? Even though I added the tomatoes in there, it's still really thick. It's chunky because of the onions. See that? It's perfect. Alright, so while we're waiting for this to finish, we're going to go ahead and make our cornbread topping. So to make our cornbread topping, most of the toppings, I'm not going to tell you the ingredients in mine so there's no confusion when you mix your own. But most of the toppings require at least milk and eggs. Some of them also require oil. I like to throw in an extra egg or two, depending on the mix that I'm using. Some of them can be kind of dry and cakey and fall apart really easy. I prefer it to be more moist and dense for this particular application. And I use 2 containers because this is quite a large, this is I believe a 9x13 pan, so it's quite large, and it needs to be thick enough that you can cover the chili completely and then have enough depth to it that the chili is not constantly trying to bubble up over the top. So here in my bowl I have my milk and my eggs, and we're just going to go ahead and add our packets of cornbread mix. And I like a couple of different brands, Marine Calendars, Krusties. There's a couple of different out there that I particularly care for, and they seem to work really well with this particular recipe because they're more moist and dense, unlike some of the other brands I was talking about earlier. So we're going to do a light mix on this, pretty much done right there, and we're going to just grease around the edge of this bowl so where the cornbread sits it doesn't stick. And just take this non-stick spray right here, just a light going over around the edge of the pan, like that. Helps prevent any issues. Here is our chili, all finished. This is enough to easily feed 6 people dinner with some side veggies if you wanted. You don't have to, I guess. I've had it many times without any veggies. It is really quite good. Alright. Nice and even. As I said before, I like to do this either in the morning or the evening before, cover it up, put it in the fridge and let it cool. It's much better when this is closer to room temperature, when you put the cornbread topping on, because then it's firmer, it's more congealed, and the cornbread topping will sit more evenly without the chance of it sinking through the chili. And then when you put it in the oven, the chili still has to warm up, and the cornbread is not being stifled by the chili boiling over the top of it. So it's usually better to do this in the morning or the evening before, or let it sit until it's room temperature. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add our cornbread topping and do it over the edge of this like that, so it doesn't pierce through into the chili. It doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, so on this end over here. Nice even coverage. And it will level itself just fine. And I just let this cool just for only a few minutes. You can do it piping hot, and it will start cooking the cornbread pretty quickly because it's hot. And here's the last of it. Alright. Now we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven at 375. As you check it, put a fork in or a knife into the cornbread to make sure the cornbread's cooked all the way through. The bottom will always be moist because the chili is beneath it, but if it's at temperature it will be cooked. Alright. Let's put it in the oven. Okay, as you can see, I have a tray below, and that's to help with anything dripping or anything that may boil over. My oven is a mess, so excuse me. It is holiday season and I have been cooking like crazy. Look at that baked perfection. See a chili underneath? It's coming out just here at the edge, just a little bit towards the end. And I think I said before that this takes 25 minutes to cook. Actually, I made a mistake. It's actually 55 minutes to cook. So this is after 55 minutes of cooking. It may take a little less or a little longer depending on your mix, your cornbread mix that is. Alright. Isn't it worth subscribing to this channel to see stuff like this? It truly is. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification so you know when I load up my next video. And let's go ahead and cut this so you can see what it looks on the inside. So we're going to go ahead. I usually just use a flat spatula for this, and I'm going to cut through the top of the cornbread right here and in here. This is a good serving for one person. Go all the way through. It's not stuck to the edge, which is perfect. And then lift and serve. This is where you're going to need a spoon. Spoon. Scoop out some of your chili, and there you go. Absolutely delicious. Isn't that fantastic? Beautifully finished. Ooh. One of my favorite things to eat. And really quick and easy to do. All you have to do is go ahead and add yourself a dollop of sour cream. Sometimes I cut up a fresh avocado. Depends on what you like it with. Or you can just eat it just the way it is. Isn't that gorgeous? Thanks again for joining me today. It was an absolute pleasure making this cornbread casserole for you. It's absolutely delicious, really easy to make, very inexpensive, and something that's very quick and easy to feed your kids on a cold winter's day. Really good stuff this is. Thanks again for joining me. You guys have a blessed evening. That's our man for feeding my belly.